So when you first got here, obviously new coming in, Provorov new coming in. How much of an adjustment was the beginning of the season? Was there a point in the season that you kind of felt like things were starting to kind of clip together?
Yeah, I definitely had a slow start personally, on the ice wise. If that's what we're talking. Obviously, off the ice was an easy transition. I've mentioned that a few times throughout the season, but on the ice was a bit of a slow start for me. Personally, I'd definitely have to get out to a better start this coming year. But there was a lot of things that happened obviously throughout our season, especially early. So, but the adjustment was a little bit more on the ice than off the ice, I would say. And once I got accustomed to things, started playing much better. Obviously, then I had the injury happen and I missed 15 games, and that usually takes you about a handful of games to kind of get back to where you wanted to be as well. So once I got back from the injury, like I said, it took me about a handful of games to get back, and then from then until basically the end of the season, I felt like myself again and felt like I was, kind of coming into my own and figuring out how I need to play to help this team be successful in the future.
You kind of segued a little bit, the injury situation, over 800 man games the last 2 years. And some of it's freak injuries, but then there's an element where maybe players can do a little bit more. Like, where do you see where you guys can really make an improvement to shoot that number down?
Yeah, some of it's uncontrollable. I know personally for mine, there was nothing that I could have done differently, nothing that any medical staff could have done differently to avoid me being injured in the way that I got injured. It's almost like a block shot, in a sense. They just you block a shot, your foot gets broken. There's nothing you can do. It's going to happen throughout the season. You see it every year. So you just it's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of style of play. Honestly, team style of play makes a huge difference in injuries. I find. I'll just give you an example. You look at Johnny Gaudreau and the year he had in Calgary, he put up 115 some points or whatever it was. The style that they played in Calgary was super beneficial for Johnny Gaudreau, and he had that number of points along with, Tkachuk now in Calgary because of the style of play and the way that they would be able to be successful. So if we're able to kind of find a way as an organization, as a team, to have a style of play that makes our players that we have to our available, be successful. So really, it's up not really something I can control because it's not up to me, but it definitely could help in your question, the injury factor of the style of play we play and trying to avoid some of those things.
Damon, you and Provi as well play arguably the most difficult position, at least among skaters, that is out there. That's why we see with the young guys come up, they're usually forwards, right? Like it's tough for defensemen. So I'm wondering, even though you were a veteran, you went through the whole free agency trade thing for the first time. New place, new town, new coach, new system, everything. How difficult was it when you look back on it now at the end of this season? And when you look toward next season, do you feel like you kind of hit the ground running a little bit easier or better here?
Yeah, the second part of that question you're bang on. Now that I've been here, hit the ground running for sure. Got to have a good start personally and as a team. I look at how important a start is. New Jersey, we did it last year. We had our first 10 games. We had a little bit of a slower start, the first few, but what carries a team is a little bit of a cushion because you're going to have the ups and downs, the lulls in a season. And we had such a good start that helped us kind of put that little bit of a cushion that we needed to kind of, when we were able to go through those lulls, we were able to kind of get through them on the better side of things because of where we put ourselves early. And then the first part of your question, kind of forget because I answered it a little bit in that as well. But
just looking back on the season,
yeah.
How tough was it to kind of make that transition as a defenseman with a new coach, new system?
I guess, yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but we're creatures of habit. No matter if you're a hockey player or just a human being, you get used to something. I was so used to going to New Jersey every year, going into the same building, the same this, the same that. You're used to things. You kind of have familiarity, and when you're a new, my wife and I were new in a different town, and we're coming to a different building. It's an adjustment naturally, and anybody who says it's not would probably be lying. But we figured it out in a hurry away from the rink. Like I said, that wasn't an issue for me. It was just took me a little bit longer than I would have liked on the ice to play the game that I need to play to help the team be successful. So, like you said, again, going back to the second part of your question, I definitely want to hit the ground running next year. And with whatever happens this summer, there's a lot of things that are about to be new here as well. Now that I've seen it and been here, this is going to be a big summer for us. And now I look forward to being part of a solution to the future of winning in Columbus.
Yeah. Most of you hockey players that I've talked to are creatures of habit, like you said. That's a great term. But that leads into consistency. Like, you guys are always striving for consistency. This is a team that, it's been a couple of years since they've had consistency. I mean, how important is that? You guys want to become a better team and establish culture and all that stuff. How big is that, no matter what happens this offseason with GM and all that, to just establish something here and just keep it going forward?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, you look at an example like Colorado or a Boston, you can tell they have their culture set. They have what's expected of them every single day, every single night. You're not going to win every single day. You're going to have good days, bad days. But if you're just consistent in what you bring every single day and the expectation is what it is, that's going to help you along in that process of, trying to be a winning team and a winning franchise. And everybody goes through their ups and downs, but we're in that process right now of trying to come out the other side of it better, and we have to sustain that for the long term.
What gives you hope that this can be a team moving towards a playoff?
We have pieces in play right now with the current roster that we just need to surround them with better players and better talent. Everything just has to be better, that next step. And we've had a lot of guys that are young players this year that got a look. The biggest thing is trying to take another step. And I've only been one other place, like I mentioned. So I saw it in New Jersey. The Heishiers, the Hughes, the Jesper Bratz, some of these young players that, okay, you can see the talent, you can see the skills there, you can see the work ethic. Everything is there. Now it's a matter of taking the next step. And we did last year. So now with the Columbus Blue Jackets here, we have to have those certain type of players as well take that next step and help carry us into the postseason.
And you mentioned the young players. This has always been one of the youngest teams in the league every season. How much do you need more veteran presence here to maybe get over the top?
It helps for sure. There's a fine line of what you can do, what you can't do, and the types of players and pieces that are available. You're only able to do what you can do. The things that are forced, those things sometimes don't work out in your favor so much, and then they haunt you a little bit. So, for example, there was myself and Provorov were brought in this year. We were available via trade and sign and trade for myself, brought in to help the team, and I feel like we did help, and I feel like we could be a part of the solution going long term as well. And I signed here long term wanting to be a part of the solution and excited to be part of that, seeing the pieces that were in play and being added to that. Now we just need to add a little bit more.
So with that young talent, what does it look like, I guess, to kind of maximize that potential? Because obviously there's a difference between potential and then just consistency or the solution, right? Like, what does that process look like? Whether it's encouraging young guys to kind of develop more consistency to kind of maximize the potential that you've seen from countless NHL debuts this entire
Right.
year.
Yeah. Just the standard. Everybody has their own kind of inner goals and inner mindset of what they think they can be and what they can do. You want to have yourself put on that highest pedestal you can and try to reach those goals, and whether they're attainable or not, you have to be realistic in that as well. But I think realistically we have pieces that should have those standards that are way up to the top and could help a team be successful in the Blue Jackets. So again, I can only control what I control. I'm going to worry about my business and taking care of it, but when we have young players, I'm going to try to help them along the best I can too. But in saying that, your inner self has to want it. You have to want to be that best player you can possibly be. And these guys are drafted high for a reason. These guys are here for a reason. These guys, everyone has their own role and their own path they've created to get here. Now you have to have that drive to want to get to that next level. And it's not an individual sport we're playing here. It's a team sport. So you're always pushing one another, and it's not an easy thing, but the payoff is fantastic in the end. And talking to some guys who I've met throughout my career who have won Stanley Cup championships and numerous Stanley Cup championships, you get in some FU matches, you get in some fights with your teammates over the years, but in the end you're all best buddies because you're a champion together, and that's again, that's long-term goals, but yeah, we have the pieces in play that could be part of that solution to get to that point.
I'm sure it's one thing where you see really good players on other teams, but you don't really necessarily know that player or whatever. I'm wondering what you come in here think of Zach Werenski now, as opposed to maybe when you first got here, you knew he was a good player. But did you learn anything about Zach this year and just his abilities and in other ways?
Yeah, I mean, when you're around somebody on a day-to-day basis, you see, when you play against somebody, you see how good they are as a player. But then when you're around, away from the rink, at the rink, everything like that, you can see the talent there for sure. And I think I want to say that the last 10 to dozen games we played together as pairing, we didn't really play together a ton throughout the first half of the season to 3/4 of the season, and we started playing together in the last dozen games this year, and we played real good hockey on most nights. And we I think he's mentioned it in the past to a lot of people too, is we think the game similarly. We want to move the puck, we want to create offense as best we can, but you have to take care of your own end first. And we both skate well, we both have good sticks. There's a lot of similar things, and the talent that he brings to the game and the mindset that he brings to the game, I would include him especially in that group of players that could be here long term, that could push the team over the top because of that inner drive and being kind of in that same wavelength as myself. And there's a few other guys in there as well that are kind of in that core group of players that could help the team, and he's definitely one of them, and you see it on a nightly basis. Fantastic player.
It's been a while since we've seen you. How are you doing? How are you feeling, especially as we go into another off season here?
I'm doing good. I got cleared maybe a week ago, so I'm feeling better. Obviously, it wasn't the way I wanted to end this season, but I think obviously I had a concussion, so I think that's, and obviously with the mouth too, got hit with the puck there, and I think that cracked up my head a little bit as well. So we want to play it safe now the last few games here, so it's tough to watch from upstairs, especially like early in the year as well, when I wasn't playing. So yeah, it's gonna be nice to come home and just forget about hockey for a little bit and just go to work.
We mentioned the odd injuries and the odd nature of it. You're sitting on the bench, for the one. I think you hit a linesman for the second one, but you've had a number, unfortunately, of injuries throughout your career, and you're still a really young player. How much thinking do you do about that, and do you try not to think about all the journey that you've been on so far?
Yeah, obviously you think about it a lot, especially when you're hurt, when you're not with the team and not on the road and stuff. You get a lot of time with yourself, and just that's when everything, all the thinking goes on. And obviously it's not the way I want it to be. I want to play every game, 82 games, but yeah, hopefully I can have a good summer and come in prepared. And I think I'm going to change number as well. I've seen a little bit on Twitter, so I think if the management approve it, so I'm changing number.
What number?
I think that's will be a surprise.
Okay.
But
All right.
if the management and stuff are good with that, I'm gonna go with that number.
Adam, with obviously the potential for a lot of change could happen with this team with a new general manager. How much thought will you be putting into what could happen this offseason?
Obviously, with a new GM, he's gonna decide what team he wants and what coach he wants and all that stuff. And it's not in my hands. I can't control it. I'm just gonna work my hardest in the summer and just come prepared to whatever team I play on, if it's here or somewhere else. I want to be here. Got one more year on the contract, so I just renew the lease as well on the apartment. So it would be nice to be back here.
And one of the things, it applies to you and it applies to a lot of guys on the team. So through several coaching changes, how challenging is it when there is so much change? You know, there could be more change to come depending on how the offseason goes, but how difficult is that when you go from coach to coach, maybe system to system? Is that part of what could be happening here?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone in that room believes in Passy, and you know he's a great coach, and I really like him as a human being and as a coach. Maybe don't agree with everything, you know. Obviously, I was scratched for a few games there at the start, but you know it's just hockey. At the end of the day, you just go out there and play, and if you start thinking about stuff, that's when everything goes too slow, and you know it's a lot of instincts out there. So it doesn't matter what coach you have, and you know it's up to the players.
Kind of led right into what I was going to ask you about was, you know, this season started so weird with the Babcock thing, and it was like a couple days before camp started. Passy does take over. This staff takes over. What do you think of the job that they did this year? I know the record isn't much better than last year, but just considering everything, what did you think, you know, about this season from the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think they did a good job. Obviously, it comes down to the players, right? But I think the practices were hard. We were battling. You know, ups and downs. We were stuck together, and you know, Passy held us to a high standard, which we didn't hold all the time. Obviously, all the third periods and stuff like that. So, you know, I think we got believe in them, and they got believe in us. So I think we can just grow from here.
Adam, I just want to ask you about that number change. What kind of led you to that? Is it just maybe changing your fortunes a little bit, changing your fate?
Yeah, I think from the start, I just got number 27 in Chicago, so I never picked a number, and I feel like now I'm coming into my sixth season, so maybe it's time to pick my number and hope for the best.
Yeah. Obviously, you're aware of the history of the number here, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing on Twitter. So I think hopefully that can help a little bit. You know, a lot of hockey players are superstitious and stuff, so hopefully that can play in a little bit.
Yeah. And your summer, will you go back home to Sweden a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going back home on Friday. It's been a long 4 weeks here when the teams have been on the road, and you know, with the head you get a lot of thinking and stuff. So I'm excited to get back home and you know take a week off and then get back to work.
Right. And most of your training will be there and come back to Columbus September-ish, probably, right?
Yeah, I'm coming back. I think mid-August to put my teeth in. So I'm excited for that.
When you were healthy, you scratched a couple times, like you mentioned, but how did you feel your season went from a performance standpoint?
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's always hard when you're scratched and then coming in and play and try to just play your game, because I feel like you don't want to do any mistake to be back outside the lineup. But I think I played pretty good. Obviously, not as many points as I would like, and you know, helping offensively, and I played power play all year, and I'm not happy with that. You know, I don't think I did a good enough job there, but I think my overall game took a little bit way up here. You know, I think I played better defensively than I've done in the past, and obviously playing with Z consistently has helped as well. So, you know, I'm not going to stand there and say I played really good this year, but I think I took some steps in the right direction.
Adam, one of the key things that a lot of people look at this team, consecutive seasons allowing over 300 goals as a team. I know that'll be an obvious focus for the team. What do you think will contribute to the improvement that you need in that area to really reduce that number?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think obviously you want to limit as many goals as possible, and you know, I think it's not only about on the D. I think it's a 5-man unit out there that's going to work together, and I think sometimes, especially in the third period, I think we've been on different pages and stuff like that. So I think once we figure that out and just can work as a 5-man unit out there, I think it could be really good.
Hey, Ivan, just new to the team coming in, obviously a little bit of an adjustment period. How much of an adjustment would you say that there was at the beginning, and then was there a point in the season where you kind of started to see things start to come together from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's, for this team, they added me, added Sivo, there's other guys there, we're coming into the lineup here and there, and it takes time to adjust. I think overall, our team is better than what our record showed this year. I think at times we played like we can, and but I think overall we took a step forward as a team, and hoping that we can build on this going into next year.
What did you make of all the third period struggles earlier in the year? Was there like one or two things that may have stood out as to why that kept happening?
It's hard to win in this league, so obviously this team's been through a lot last year, and it takes a little bit of time to learn how to win consistently, and I think that was, unfortunately, that was our way of learning and figuring out how to be a better team, and at the end of the day, hopefully it only makes us stronger.
You and Severson were in a very similar situation because you got traded here. He was assigned in trade. Both defensemen, both veterans, but you're coming to a new place, back in the start of the camp. How tough was that, just to go through that, playing the position you play, and then, just trying to kind of figure things out as the season went along?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you leave a place where you played for a while and coming into a new place is going to be new situations, new people, everything's new. So obviously it's exciting, but it takes time to adjust, to figure out your ways around. And obviously hockey is a sport where you need to have a good chemistry with your D partner, your teammates, and the teams there kind of been on the same page for a while. The teams there winning consistently, so that's what we were working through this year. And I think towards the end of the year, I think you learn about your teammates as the season go on, and you pick up on what they're what they do in certain situations. And like I said, it takes time, and I think by the end of the year, we were figuring our ways and how this team can play and should play.
Yeah, so like when we look to next year, we don't know how everything's going to pan out with coach or GM, but what you're talking about, odds are you're going to know a lot of the tendencies of people you're playing with. So how much will that help, do you think, maybe just starting off next year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously the coaching and the systems is important, but a lot of it comes from players and how well they play together and how well they read off each other. So having this year behind us is going to help us tremendously to just start off from a different place than we started this season.
Outside of national teams, have you ever played on a team with as many Russian teammates?
No, I played through youth hockey, but never in the NHL. And it's great when you have players and teammates from the same country that grew up the same way, speak the same language, and I think it's nice to have that.
I mean, you're actually the only Blue Jacket to play in all 82 games, and you played a lot of minutes too. And the 800-man games lost the last 2 seasons combined. What do you feel? I know there's an element of luck involved, part of it, but what do you think contributed to you being able to be as durable? And could some players maybe do some things to help them get to that point?
I think it's a lot of work in the summer. Off season is important. You're trying to get your strength and build enough juice for yourself to kind of go all year. To not have those moments when you're fatigued and you can get hurt. I think mentally too, you as a player, you battle through a lot. It's not like you go 82 games in a row without playing a game where you're hurt or you're not 100%. That also part of hockey in general. So, but obviously a lot of preparation in the off season, a lot of preparation before practices and before games helps you, kind of be able to be there for the team every game.
You were paired with Juracek back in preseason games. He struggled obviously up here this year. How difficult is it for a young defenseman to make it in the NHL?
Obviously, I think some can argue, goaltending is the toughest position. I think some people can argue that, defense is the toughest position to come into. Obviously, a lot is coming at you, especially as a young guy. You're still learning the team, still learning the league, still learning your teammates, the systems, all of that. It takes time to adjust. So I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, and he's just got to kind of put his head down, continue to work, and he'll get better, and he'll find his way as a player. It takes time. Some players longer, some people less time, but if you're willing to put the work in, you'll figure your way around.
And going into a season now where you'll be an unrestricted free agent after this coming season, have you started to put any thought into what your future might look like, and possibly even here, depending on how things work out with the new general manager, etc.?
Not really. I mean, the season just ended. Like I said, we'll see what happens. When the new general manager comes in. But overall, all I can say is that I enjoyed my time here. With the organization hockey-wise, and I've enjoyed living here in the city of Columbus and all the surrounding areas. So I can only say positive things so far.